Good day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watchaz Live, the show where we highlight young professionals and, of course, give advice to anyone who's young entering their field. We're here with a very special guest today, Alexander, the application support analyst. How are you feeling today, Alexander? Thank you so much for joining Watchaz Live, sponsored by Gutful and Electra Secure.
Thanks for having me. I'm feeling okay. Excited to just, share my little experience and knowledge.
Of course. So I have a lot of questions, and you are a young. Would you mind sharing your age with us?
I'm 24, just turned
Okay, would
24.
you look at that? 24, super successful. And of course, I know you're excited to give the advice to, of course, any high school students or even primary, because how long did you fall in love with this role? Like, consider it's
Yeah.
IT, right? Because
Mhm, yeah.
everybody is saying computer science. So
Yeah.
how long has this been your passion?
So it is IT. Love is a strong word, but I guess it is a love. I've loved technology or been involved with technology all the way from kindergarten, fiddling with my home PC. And, since then, I mean, I know we all grew up around technology. I mean, at least people in our generation, like we've seen technology, kind of grow and stuff and integrates itself into our lives. But I think I've taken like a special liking to it over the years. And I think when I first got into, as you'd say, computer science or like IT, is when my mom was one day was like, "Oh, Alex, you should learn how to code," and she sent me to Code Academy, and I would fiddle around and learn little stuff. But when it really started clicking was probably around like fifth form, going from like CSEC and then going into Cape and stuff. I I learned, Pascal first, which is this like learning programming language. And then,
Wow.
I decided to do computer science at the Cape level, was really successful there with my results, and especially cultivated a really lovely teacher, really lovely relationship with my teacher, sorry. And he kind of encouraged me by kind of like this weird feedback loop. Like he would always kind of be hard on me and kind of expect more from me, which kind of motivated me at that time, which saw me pursue it in college, where I majored in computer science, and I picked up a minor in cybersecurity maybe halfway through college. And that's where we're kind of pivoting from, you know, not really pivoting, but, kind of introduce cybersecurity and, application support, I guess, into my skill set. So yeah, that's kind of the story, the abridged story of my relationship with the field.
It's very inspirational though, like from kindergarten till now. It really speaks to just sticking to what you know and love. Although you said love is a strong word, but I'm going to say that because it is very inspirational to realize something from that young and still turn it into what it is right now. So I love that. And I want to know, could you tell us more details about your role as an application support analyst? Like, what does it entail?
Yeah, good question. I mean, you see this role in under many different names if you're looking, online, or if you're hearing about it. I mean, application support is the department I work in at my company, and I'm an analyst, which is kind of like entry level to it. It's my first job out of college, but I mean,
Oh,
application support, analyst, tech support, IT support. All of these things are one and the same. They kind of differ depending on the company that you work at. But for me, I work at a software company, so we develop and maintain software for other businesses. So it's not like your average user; it's for other businesses. So that's why we call it like a B2B, business to business software company. And so so for my role specifically, I am first point of contact if the application fails, or if a user is having a specific issue. And this could be from a simple password reset to, oh, this is a critical failure in how we expect this application to run, and you need to go into the code, analyze it, try reproduce the user's bugs and stuff. So it really is just about ensuring the reliability of the software that runs, and the integrity of the information that our applications host. And and ensuring that our users actually have, an application to use day to day. So yeah, that's really it.
But that sounds like a lot of work though, and probably it's like second nature to your first nature. But I want to know what's the most difficult part of your job, or is it just it's just easy to like want to no difficulties? Tell
I
us.
mean, everything there's definitely difficulties as with any job. You're gonna have the parts you prefer and the parts you don't. I mean, for me, I consider myself a people person, but it's kind of hard to because our clients, the users of the software, they can directly call us, if they're facing an issue. I mean, yeah, we communicate by email, but depending on how severe it is, they will literally call your phone and be like, Alex, can you help me with this? Or you know about this, or you know about that. And it's switching between can be kind of hard, talking to, a person on the phone or communicating with an application or like code or software, And especially when you're like deep in an issue and then somebody calls you on a completely unrelated issue. I think the context switching is is kind of challenging, but I mean it's doable. But yeah, I'd say that's probably the hardest part of the job so far.
Okay, so since you mentioned the hard parts, we have to talk about the good parts as well, right? Because to me, like the calling, as you said, you'd expect it because you're the support. But
Mm.
what's a moment in your career thus far where you're like, yes, like I'm doing the right thing. I'm so proud of this. Like this is what I've been doing and it's rewarding. So what's the
Yeah.
most rewarding part of being an application support analyst?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've thought about it a little, and the moments where I feel, I guess, the best, or I guess give me the most joy would probably be, you receive an issue, and it's not necessarily um, that it's impossible to solve, but it's one of your more challenging issues you'd say you'd receive, and then you're sharing it with coworkers, and everybody gets their eyes on it, and they're like, what's happening here? The development team is looking at it, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But it, but when you are the one to solve it based on your own investigation, it it becomes like it's almost like scoring a goal, in like football or something.
I love that
It's like,
analogy. That's cool.
yeah, it's like the trade-off between time spent and then it just happens so quick, like that eureka moment, and you get those, I mean, decently often, when you're stuck and you're stumped and you don't know what's happening, and you just breaking things, you're putting them back together, and you end up finding it's like really a relief, and it's like, euphoric. So yeah, that's probably the best part.
I love that. I love the goal analogy.
Hmm.
Perfect. So in that case now, because I'm tracking the journey, I'm feeling really inspired. I love it. But in terms of young people who want to enter the field you're in, like say from, because you mentioned kindergarten, then you went
Hmm.
to university after high school, of course. But what university did you attend?
I went to NYU. That's in the States, New
Ooh.
York University. So yeah, that's where I went.
So is it like more, was it more hands-on there? Like I believe in Jamaica you don't get much hands-on internships. Were you able to get those abroad?
Well, in the semester, I would always kind of, tutor my friends and work on assignments. But once, for being honest, I would always try and get internships. I've reached far in, certain interview rounds in certain companies, and maybe it's a skill issue, who knows? But I always ended up coming back to Jamaica. I always ended up coming back to Jamaica to work. So, I mean, first year I worked in marketing and web development at a wealth management firm here, and then another one of my internships was working at Digicel in cybersecurity, which was pretty good as
Oh,
well. And I also spent the summer just freelancing. I would create websites for people, or my dad was trying to start up this thing, his own like little software app. Everybody has an app idea, and he actually went through with it, trying to get people to develop it for him. And I would kind of serve as like a broker between like the technical language that they were giving him and his own understanding, which is basically what I it's a part of my job right now as well because I have to take what the user does.
You've been a
Yeah,
do this like the deeper we go in the conversation is another brick. Like
yeah,
what's happening?
yeah. It's
Okay.
yeah.
So you have
So
to give with the
NYU was
sauce.
good. NYU was good. I met a lot of great people there. Still
Mhm.
in contact with them. It's very lovely to be able to live in the city, and because there's no campus, the as they like to say, the city is your campus or whatever. So it was
Oh,
certainly interesting, and it certainly made me into who I am today. Um, but yeah, no, and the education, like the stuff that they had us working on in labs, and the courses I took and the opportunities just to that academic sphere were really great. I can't discount that at all. But yeah, most of my work experience is in Jamaica actually. So yeah.
really? You know, I wasn't expecting that from you said NYU, but you didn't say NYU would take off verifying
I
this,
love home.
verifying
Like
that.
every break, I'll be like, how can I get home? Like if I have to work at home, I'll do that. But I really do love being home in Jamaica, and the weather alone, like, was just so
New
just
York,
in the winter
cold.
in New York, too cold. Summer, it's way too hot. There's a concrete jungle, so I'm looking out the window right now, and I'm just remembering, like, yeah, thank God it's not snowing.
Oh my God.
Genuinely.
But the greatest thing is that you made it and you're here to share this story with me and of course empower the younger generation. Some know it's a skill
Yeah.
issue, but we're gonna make a little of the stars. What do you
Okay.
suggest any young professional that wants to become an application support analyst to do?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a good question. I don't know if a lot of people are like striving to become application support analysts. Maybe you are. That could be the case, but I think it's a part of a bigger picture. And I certainly view it. This is how I view it myself. Don't get me wrong. I like my job. I really do enjoy what I do. It's satisfying. But I just see it as me becoming more and more inculcated in the world of technology or the industry of technology.
Glad you
Or
mentioned that because we're
information
gonna talk a
technology.
bit. I have some questions. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
broader than just application
oh yeah, that's a
analyst.
very small part of it. I'd say like the bigger pie that is a slice of would be like cybersecurity, and then cybersecurity would be a part of the whole IT field, just software in
Right.
general, computers in general. So yeah. So that being said, if you want to get into IT, software development or cybersecurity, I have the same advice for anybody who's already interested in it, or you're probably already, so you're in fifth form, you probably already have IT as your subject, you're probably already doing computer science at Cape or whatever equivalent you're doing. But outside of that, what you can do, you just have to break things genuinely. Like whatever you're interested in, try and solve problems around in your daily life. So for example, even when I was younger, like this is simple for us now, but it was like a big deal for me when I was younger. I'm like, how can I get this song onto my iPod? I had to fiddle, I had to research, I had to fiddle, and I was able to download any song I want. What are some other examples? Like, oh, my Wi-Fi is not working properly, and every now and then it chips out. I mean, yeah, you could Google how can I fix my Wi-Fi, and then you might get some hints as to like what may be wrong, but you can actually log on to your router, change the settings. I've changed the channels that my Wi-Fi router operates on, because it's radio
Okay.
frequency. So like I have two routers, and they were clashing and it wasn't optimal, so I'm looking into it, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but then I was saying like, oh, what do the channels do? And it's like, oh, channels can cause interference, so even your neighbor could be operating on the same channel as you. I digress, but you really just have to just fiddle with things and break things in your free time that interest you. And you don't have to code up the next Facebook or Uber or anything. I mean, that would be cool, but small things snowball into bigger things, and on a
Yeah, we're
foundational
gonna
level.
keep that quote, small thing. We get
Yeah.
two quotes of Arnold is like a goal and small things snowball into bigger things. I know you're showing me that the role is a lot of problem solving. That's
Mhm.
cool because if my Wi-Fi goes down, trust me, I'm just like, Flo, please
Yeah,
come
I've
right
never called
down.
in to Stellar Flow if my Wi-Fi goes on. I can't say the last time they've been here to actually troubleshoot anything. Maybe to swap out hardware. That's
But it's
it.
all
But
you. It's all you. That's
trying to
the
maintain a healthy and secure home. Yeah.
Hey, I'm really proud of you. Like I'm genuinely proud of you. Like it's cool to see someone actually go through the steps of how how themselves what them are doing and what them don't know. But I'm glad you mentioned the bigger part of it being technology overall. So
hmm
is it best I mention computer science then?
hmm
Computer science? That's
Yeah, you
it.
can. I mean, yeah, computer science is like I don't know how you describe it if you compare computer science to technology. I'd say is a first of all, if we're being real, the word technology, it's not only computers. I mean, the actual definition
Mm.
of technology is just anything that makes your life easier, basically, or makes a process easier. So, like, for example, let's see, like, this hanger is a piece of
Where did it
technology.
come
Like,
from?
it's just on my desk. But it is a piece of technology, technically. Because without it, your clothes will be taking up way more space wherever it is. It allows you to, sort your clothes neatly,
God, this adds so
So
much perspective.
yeah, I mean,
Perspective. Because I'm like,
yeah, so
technology has to be typey type, phone,
it
this,
doesn't have
that,
to be
that.
digital at all. The wheel is the first example of technology, like it's like the wheel itself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so before people would carry things and then they would put it in boxes and then they put wheels on the box and created a wagon and
Okay.
they could carry more things way easier and stuff. That is technically technology. So yeah, but the reason why we kind of group computers into technology nowadays is because it is the thing that has made our lives the most
God, I was gonna
easiest.
get that. I was
Yeah,
gonna ask you, I was like, because when I put the dots together, I'm like, so that's why we call like the internet and stuff technology because boom, it's
yeah,
just everything's just like one tap away. I'm glad
everything
we're
has made
here
yeah,
now.
exactly.
So we're in the depths of the convo. We need to talk about this AI thing.
That's true.
How do you see AI shaping the future of, should I say, application support analysis or technology overall? There are
Um,
conversations, it's bad, it's good, it's bad, it's good. The water is being depleted, a lot is happening,
mm,
and we need you to let us know. It's true, false.
depends on your perspective. I mean, it is. There are bad things about it, and there's a plethora of bad things. Like it's really hard to verify information now. Whether it's a picture, a video, or even any text that's written. Very hard to verify if that was human written or machine
Yeah,
written. There is also the environmental impact is crazy. Like the average Google search is, you know, 5 times, I think it's 5 or 7 times less, 5 times more efficient or 7 times more efficient than like a chat GPT query. So that is like to produce a result rather than like a simple Google search. So, I mean, the water thing is also crazy. It's like 2 liters per like So it is a lot, but it is another tool. It's another piece of technology, that has come to the forefront. And guess what? These companies have already received like trillions of dollars of funding to create infrastructure and develop their models even more and just keep advancing it. And all the countries are like politically, everybody's behind AI to push it forward. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? There are good and bad points you can take from it, but it is a useful tool at the end of the day, and you know you can use tools incorrectly. You wouldn't use a hammer to change a tile, rarely ever. Um, So you can get the good things from it. So I use AI, to be honest, pretty sparingly. Because one, the software I work on is pretty niche, so it's not really that the AI is trained to understand it, or like there's
Mhm.
any, data on it that the AI probably has already. But I use it like probably like, you know, twice a month, honestly, for just like general. Sometimes I just have a chat with it, to understand like a topic in depth, and I find that helpful. But it's far surpassed a chatbot at this point. I mean, there are literal AI agents on the internet acting on their own accord for their users, for their owners.
Like
Like,
actual like bots, like
yeah, like
operating
AI
without
bots
anyone saying do this.
with just like one instruction, one general prompt, and it operates basically autonomously. So there are people who set up these bots on their own personal machines and stuff, and just send it out on the internet to do its bidding, to do their bidding, and
No idea.
yeah, some people give it access to their bank accounts and their investment portfolios, and yeah, it's a thing. So it's here to stay.
I was gonna
I don't
ask
think
you
the
that
adoption,
next. Is it ever going to
yeah,
fade out like
it will,
inescapable
in the
forever?
sense that right now we're in that AI craze. It's rapidly developing. I mean, I compare it. A lot of people compare it to like the .com bubble. So like when websites first came about, like so like with your Facebooks and your Googles and your Amazons, like those remained obviously, right?
Mhm.
But in that period of time when these websites were coming up, there were like thousands and thousands and thousands upon websites coming up where like people are like, oh, this is gonna make me a millionaire, this and that, and a lot of them have died out, But the internet is still here, and the
Yeah,
websites are here. Like the internet didn't disappear; it just became in a more stable and neutral state. I mean, it's always growing, but in that time it was a craze, and things were breaking, things were people were being massively affected. Y2K with the whole when the year 2000 shifts, all the computers are going to break and stuff like that was a real big concern. But standards and practices come and protocols get implemented, legislation gets written, and things become stable. So the AI thing is scarier than the .com bubble for sure, because you can't. This is probably the most advanced technology we've ever created, but I don't think it's going to disappear anytime soon. Genuinely not. I mean, it's
it's
so much money has already
everywhere.
been
It's
invested.
on Google.
Yeah,
It was even
yeah,
on the Zoom call when I opened it up. That's crazy. But that in itself
exactly,
says a lot. So do you think people really have to worry about the replacing of jobs? Like that's something that will definitely happen
for
when it's
sure.
about. Oh,
And I don't mean to be like a Debbie Downer about it, but it's going to happen. I mean, it's only natural. I mean, I'm kind of living proof of that. In a certain sense, the hiring market after I graduated in 2024, right? Hiring market, and maybe there's some other geopolitical factors at hand, but I remember the hiring market, since AI came out, it significantly dropped down. You even have firms nowadays that are saying like, oh, we're just gonna do away with like junior engineers, and we're just gonna have our senior devs, our senior developers, use AI now. Like there are so many analogies that AI can be compared to. The more recent one in history, you ever been to like a CVS in the States, or like
yeah.
been to one of those self checkout
Is
areas?
it you're talking the kiosks or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the
okay.
self checkout kiosk, like you just put your stuff there and you scan it yourself and you pay, right? Compare that to your average supermarket, especially like in Jamaica, or like even before those self checkout kiosks, you would have like 10 lanes, each manned by a cashier, a working person. Now, a lot of these locations, you maybe have two employees just standing around these 20 self checkout kiosks, or, you have less people actually physically cashing, and you have these self checkout stations doing most of the work, and then maybe one person to kind of oversee it. You can go even further back to the Industrial Revolution. You know, Jacquard's loom.
You
Before
always
that,
have
people
some
were
sort of
manually.
fact. That's
Yeah,
dope.
they were manually sewing things, hundreds of people in the factory, manually sewing it. The automated loom came out. You just had supervisors now tending to the machine. So it's more people are going to have to become technically literate and comfortable with just tending to the machine, basically, right? Even if
Oh,
I were to code something nowadays,
yeah,
I'm probably going to have to use AI to some level, to even compete with the software that's being made today. Because the speed at which people can code with AI,
yeah,
it's not that AI is doing it for you, it's doing parts of it for you, but you still just have to tend to the machine. You have to verify its output, cross reference it with your own knowledge and what you expect. It's not that you just give it and it does it. It's still a process. It's just a bit easier of a process. But yeah, so yeah, AI is going to take jobs. It already has because the hiring market slowed down after its,
yeah,
its
definitely.
exponential growth. And yeah, but you just have to, if you're serious about this, um, being in technology or computer science, whatever you want to call it, cybersecurity, you have to cultivate some kind of relationship with AI. And the people have their moral issues about AI, and they believe that it's evil, and that's completely fair because there are evil things happening, I guess, in the industry,
Yeah,
in the AI
because
industry, in terms of like environmental impacts, and you know who is targeted in terms of where you're going to put the data center and stuff. Like, all of these things are happening, but guess what, it's not new. Unfortunately, this happens with every industry. Where they're going to choose to frack for oil, they'll do it there. Or who's going to be affected if we do this? Somebody's always going to lose out. You just have to cultivate your own relationship with it that helps you sleep at night, but also doesn't leave you behind, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I truly believe. So you just have to incorporate it into your workflow. I genuinely believe that.
oh my God, I've learned so much from this conversation. I feel like I was in some sort of class because I love the fact that you mentioned, I love how you broke down what technology is with the hanger. And I love the fact that you mentioned the industrial revolution. Because when you really look at it, like using your perspective, nothing's really new under the sun. It would really probably just do the most because it's in our faces right now. But it's really the same thing in different fonts.
Yeah,
So
history just
thank
repeats
you.
itself, basically.
Essentially, thank you. And the Industrial Revolution was a great point. But okay, so I'm gonna accept that for AI. But I want to know, like, I want a little source. So what, as an application support analyst, right?
Mhm.
What apps do you think are the future? Like, what's an app I need to focus on, like, right now, and ones that I need to dismiss?
That's a good question. So obviously the application in my name is just the applications we offer, right? And
Mhm.
none of you have heard of them unless you're, well, I won't give away too much, but it's not like your Twitter or like your Uber or your YouTube. But what apps are important
I want to know the
in
future,
like this day and
basically.
age? I mean, I would say, based off the conversation we're having, I'm even realizing like maybe I should cultivate a better relationship with AI. I barely use it, and maybe that's good. But I mean, if I boycott I just think it's already built up so much that like my actions won't do anything. But I think that's the premise behind boycotting. But I'm in the industry, right? So I would genuinely say that you should have like an AI bot on your phone that you talk to, not in some, you don't treat it like a friend, like
Yeah, people
that
are
can get
doing the
kind of,
most like
yeah,
full-blown relationships, guys. Please
yeah.
don't do that. It's
There are people
scary.
getting married to their, I'll tell you something, there are people getting married to their AI chatbots, and then they're getting worried when, oh, it's running out of memory and it's forgetting things in the past. Or OpenAI recently just discontinued a model that they released like a year or two ago, and to replace it with a much better model, obviously, or whatever. And then there were people. who are like, oh my god, my boyfriend is dead or my girlfriend is dead, like this and that. It's so, as I said, healthy relationships. But if you don't have any like real moral qualm about AI, or like you're kind of in the gray area, like it's kind of inescapable. I would say you should be using like whichever one works for you, honestly, like ChatGPT, Claude. I don't really support the whole Grok thing. Grok is kind of weird, but I mean it does work, and it is the best
Yeah.
one with the real time updates. In terms
Yeah.
of like, because it's using Twitter. I don't know
Hmm.
how good of a source that is, but yeah, I think that is important. Apps that you shouldn't be using.
Yeah, like outdated.
Um,
I need to move on.
um, I don't know. I mean, it's all up to you, like with your use cases in life. I want to open my phone now for some reason and see like, is there an app I really should not be using, or I need to like kind of delete? Hmm. I mean, Twitter is really, really a cesspool nowadays. But I get so much football news and Formula One news on it that, and my timeline has gotten better. Like, if you can see here, like, oh no, oh, you can't see, my
It's
bad. But
blurred
like,
out.
it's football. Yeah, but like, it
Okay.
say social media, everybody should try and like curb their doom scrolling. That's what I would say. Like, so if you can find a
Okay.
way to prevent doom scrolling, like just scrolling for hours and hours and then neglecting like your in real life tasks,
Yeah.
you have to find a way to limit that. That's it, really.
I only have one more question.
No problem.
Right? What do you think? What is happening with the metaverse and the meta glasses? Like, do you see
Oh,
people actually living like virtual characters? Like, it's getting scary.
that's interesting. That is interesting. I mean, VR hasn't really taken off the same way
Mhm.
AI has. But I think it definitely is something that could happen, especially I think what will actually accelerate it is, if the population keeps growing massively and then resources become so constrained that, you know, housing becomes limited, and being able to like live in your own, house, or like your apartment gets smaller over time, the space that you can afford to live in just gradually gets smaller, because that's what we've been seeing happening. Like, okay, people are no longer buying houses, they're renting houses. Okay, no, people are no longer renting houses, they're buying apartments. Oh, people are no longer buying apartments, they're renting apartments. People need roommates to live with each other now. Like the space is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and they'll reach a point technically where people just get fed up. But then in the metaverse, you have so much space, like
Yeah.
you can live in as big as a house you want, or you can
Hmm.
explore this digital, almost infinite world. So this is all, a hypothesis, it's not really based on anything. It's just based off of what I've seen in like sci-fi and, and the technology news that I see. But I mean, we kind of already are in a sort of metaverse. It's not virtual reality in terms of like optically, but in terms of the information that is generated and the information that we share, a lot of it is, generated by computers, AI systems. What else is there? I mean, there are already AI bots living in our world, on our digital world.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and you bank online, you order your food online, or you pay with your phone. Like these are all themes of the metaverse. It's just whether it will actually, take over our like other senses now. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Okay, thank you so much for the insight, Alex. This was a
Yeah.
great conversation. Trust me, you are a wonderful guest. So thank you guys. I really trust that you learned something from Alexander. Go for your goal. And if you're not the sauce, find it. And of course, learn to problem solve. And we can't run away from AI. That's what I'm taking away from this. But the conversation spoke to one of being very passionate about your journey and of course knowing yourself because as you can see Alex I came from kindergarten then go NYU and then body it up and everything. So I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much for that, Alexander. And I'm just gonna ask you one thing. Could you
Mm.
kindly just say I'm Alexander and you were watching Watchaz Live?